When God created the world in Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2, what is a phrase that was repeated all the time? It was good. Day 1, it was good. Day 2, it was good. Day 3, it was good. Day 4, it was good. Day 5, it was good. Day 6, it was very good. I mean, it was just repeated that you can just kind of this picture of God sitting and just kind of looking at it and saying, this is good. This is very good. In his sentiment towards this creation, right, that he's created. And then what happens in Genesis chapter 3? What comes into the world? Sin. And sin just runs like a wildfire through dry stubble across the entire world. And so what happens is that from Genesis chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, and into chapter 6, you see this increase of wickedness that's just bursting across the world. And what happens is that God in Genesis chapter 1, chapter 2 says, it is good. And then Genesis chapter 6, he says, I regret making this. And it's just, that's sin. Sin just completely did this. And I've heard people say the old, you probably have heard people say, you know, if things get any worse around here, God's going to have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah. And I think, okay, well, really, if things get any worse around here, God's going to need to go ahead and apologize to all the people before the flood because it was bad back then. So here we go. Just chapter 6, verse 5, just kind of underline some words as you read through here. Here's what the Bible says. Then the Lord saw the human wickedness was widespread on the earth, and that every inclination of the human mind was nothing but evil all the time. So what's happened is we're going to kind of get to see this picture that wickedness is not just in pockets. It's not just in, it really gives this impression that if you could think it, people were doing it. There were no limits on the complete grossness of the sins that was. It was across the mind. It was widespread. Every inclination of the heart. Verse 6, the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth. And listen to this. He was what? Deeply grieved. Have you thought about this? Like God looking at his creation. It was good. 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 It was very good. And now he says, I am grieved that I did this. What do you think about that? What are some thoughts that run through your mind when you hear that? Yeah, it must have been really, 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 really bad. Okay, all right. What else?
That there are no new sins.
Okay, there are no new sins. All right. What was happening now was happening then. Okay, all right. What else? What do you think about the Bible describing God as one who grieves? Okay. Okay. Too much taco salad? I get it. We'll keep going. And the Lord said, I will wipe mankind whom I created off the face of the earth, together with the animals, the creatures that crawl, and the birds of the sky, for I regret that I made them. Noah, however, found favor with God. There's like this bright spot. No, God twice in this passage says, I regret that I made the world. Once he's grieved, I'm going to wipe everything off the earth. I can't believe I'm seeing what I'm seeing. The rampant nature of sin was out of control. But there was one guy who found favor with the Lord. Now you have Noah's righteousness in verses 9 through 22. These are the family records of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among his contemporaries. Noah walked with God, and Noah fathered 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. How old was Noah when he fathered his sons? What's Genesis chapter 5, verse 32 say? Noah was 500 years old. And then he fathered, Noah was up in age, long in tooth, as they say, right? Verse 11, here it is, more description. The earth was corrupt in God's sight. That was middle age. That's right. That's right. He was like 40 years old then, right? Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with wickedness. God saw how corrupt the earth was, for every creature had corrupted its way on the earth. Corrupt, 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 corrupt. Then God said to Noah, I've decided to put an end to every creature, for the earth is filled with wickedness because of them. Therefore, I'm going to destroy them along with the earth. So make yourself an ark out of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it with pitch inside and outside. This is how you're to make it. The ark will be 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, 45 feet high. You're to make a roof, finishing the sides of the ark to within 18 inches of the roof. You're to put a door on the side of the ark, make it with lower, middle, and upper decks. Anybody been to the ark? Okay. What do you think? I mean, they say it's the scale. What do you think about it? It's huge? It's awesome? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Anybody else been to it? Yeah. What'd you think? It's awesome? Miss Vicky? You just stand there and you're like, holy cow, that's a big boat. Right. Did you see a couple of years ago, this is a true story, did you see a couple of years ago that the makers of the ark were suing their insurance company because the ark had experienced flood damage? I'm serious. Like, I don't know who actually made this, but it's just massive, right? I've never seen it in person. I'd like to take my kids to see it, but my mom and dad have been there, and it's just huge. It's incredible to think that 3 guys and their wives or helper built this entire boat, right? Go cut down the gopher wood. Let's cut this. Let's do this. They didn't have DeWalt back then, and they didn't have saws and nails. They just built this entire huge ark. So God says, do this. Understand that I'm bringing a flood waters on the earth to destroy every creature under heaven with the breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark with your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives. You're also to bring into the ark 2 of all the living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of everything, from the birds according to the kinds, from the livestock according to their kinds, from the animals that crawl on the ground according to their families, will come to you so that you can keep them alive. I like this. They're going to come to you. Take them with you, every kind of food that's eaten. Gather it as food for you and for them. And here's what I love, verse 22. Noah did what? Noah did this. He did everything that God commanded him to do. And I like this because I think sometimes in my life, I don't know if you've experienced this, where God is like, I need you to do this. And then you go through like a negotiating phase with God. You're like, God, does it really need to be 400 and something feet? Can we make this 300? Or do I have to use gopher wood? Like you kind of go through these negotiating terms with the Lord. And I think sometimes the Lord tells a church to do something. Somebody tells a family to do something. Somebody tells a guy. And we go through this negotiating time. And here you get to Noah, and Noah's like, got it. I'm going to do everything you just said I was going to do. And Noah's obedient and putting the ark together. Then the Lord said to Noah, enter the ark, you and all your households, for I've seen all that you've done. I've seen that you alone are righteous before me in this generation. You're to take with you 7 pairs, a male and female, all its clean animals, 2 of the animals that are not clean, male and its females, 7 pairs, male and female, the birds of the sky, in order to keep offspring alive throughout the earth. 7 days from now, I will make it rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and everything that I have made, I will wipe off the face of the earth. Here it is again. Noah did everything that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood came and water covered the earth. So Noah and his sons, his wife and sons' wives entered the ark because of the flood waters. From the animals that are clean and from the animals that are not clean, 2 for every bird of every creature that crawls on the ark. 2 of each male and female came to Noah and entered the ark just as God commanded him. 7 days later, the flood waters came on earth. Let me ask you a question. There was one thing that God was trying to destroy what that was evident that God was destroying, and what was that? Sin, right? But what got on the ark? Sin, right? Humanity, people, everything, because of the wickedness. But what got on the ark were 2 of every kind, but what also got on the ark was sin, right? And I just think that's interesting to kind of think through this. Sometimes John and I just sit and talk back and forth, and we talk about deep things, and you just think that it didn't eliminate sin. Like sin still entered into people, like still exists today, right? Sin. In the 600 years of Noah's life, in the second month of the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the sources of the vast watery depths burst open. The floodgates of the sky were open, and the rain fell on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. On that same day, Noah and his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, entered the ark, along with Noah's wife and his 3 sons' wives. They entered it with all their wildlife, according to all their kinds, livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that crawl on the earth according to their kinds, every flying creature, all the birds of every winged creature according to their kinds. 2 of every creature that has breath of life in it came to Noah and entered the ark. Those that entered, male and female, of every creature entered just as God had commanded them. Then the Lord shut him in. The flood continued for 40 days on the earth. The water increased, lifted up the ark so that it rose above the earth. The water surged and increased greatly in the earth. The ark floated on the surface of the water. Then the water surged even higher on the earth, and all the high mountains under the whole sky were covered. The mountains were covered as the water surged above them more than 20 feet. Every creature perished. Those that crawl on the earth, birds, livestock, wildlife, those that swarm on the earth, as well as all mankind. Everything with breath of the spirit of life in its nostrils, everything on dry land died. He wiped out every living thing that was on the face of the earth, from mankind to livestock to creatures that crawl to the birds of the sky, and they were wiped off the earth. Only Noah was left and those that were with him in the ark, and the water surged on the earth 150 days. You ever had a kid ask you, did he wipe out the fish? You have the kid ask you that? Like, did the dolphins make it? Did the whales make it? Right? Because there was water everywhere. Anyway, he didn't put like a shark on the boat on aisle 3 or anything.
It says dry land, too.
Yeah. I think what gets me when I read through the Genesis narrative is how quickly it went from a perfect created world where everything was good to a flood destroying everything that had breath in it because of sin. And I've seen this in person. I've seen this in people's lives. I've seen it in this. Marriages are going great. Relationships with kids are going great. Relationships in churches are going great. Relationships with your friends are going great. And they can turn and become horrible and destructive because sin entered into it. I received a text message this morning from a friend of mine who, this wife and the husband are in the middle of a divorce with kids involved, and he said it's absolutely ugly, and it goes back to sin. And I think Genesis chapter 3, 4, 5, and 6 does a really good job at helping us understand the destruction of sin. And second, I think it helps us understand that God does not play around with sin. Like God, you deal with sin, you take care of it in your own life, but God does not play around with sin. It's just complete destruction. I wanted to get to the middle of the next chapter, but I can read fast. God remembered Noah as well as the wildlife and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. God caused the wind to pass over the earth, and the water began to subside. The sources of the watery depths and the floodgates of the sky were closed. The rain from the sky stopped. The water steadily receded from the earth, and by the end of 150 days, the water had decreased significantly. The ark came to a rest on the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat. The water continued to recede until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were visible. After 40 days, Noah opened up the window of the ark that he had made, and he sent out a raven. It went back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Last week, when it was iced for 3 days, I couldn't leave my house. And by the 3rd day, I texted the staff. I was like, I'm about to lose my mind. And I had to get out of there. I can't imagine being stuck on a boat for all this time with animals and your in-laws. The water continued to recede. After 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made, and he sent out a raven. It went back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see whether the water on the earth's surface had gone down. But the dove found no resting place for its foot. It returned to him so that in the ark because water covered the surface of the whole earth. He reached out, brought it into the ark to himself. So Noah waited 7 more days and sent out the dove from the ark again. When the dove came to him at evening, there was a plucked olive leaf in his beak. So Noah knew that the water of the surface had gone down. After he had waited another 7 days, he sent out the dove, but it didn't return to him. In the 601st year, in the 9th month, on the first day of the month, the water that had covered the earth was dried up. Then Noah removed the ark's cover and saw that the surface on the ground was drying. By the 27th day of the 2nd month, the earth was dry. This is what I wanted to get to. The Lord spoke to Noah. Come out of the ark, you, your wife, your sons' wives with you. Bring all the living creatures that are with you, birds, livestock that crawl on the earth, and they will spread over the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah, along with his sons, his wives, and his sons' wives came out. All the animals, all the creatures that crawl and all the flying creatures, everything that moves on the earth came out of the ark by their families. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took some of every kind of clean animal and every kind of clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. When the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, he said to himself, I will never again curse the ground because of human beings. Even though the inclination of the human heart is evil from youth onward, I will never again strike down every living thing as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night will not cease. God blessed Noah's sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. This is exactly what he told Adam. The fear and terror of you will be in every living creature on the earth, every bird of the sky, every creature that crawls on the ground, and all the fish of the sea. They are placed under your authority. Every creature that lives and moves will be food for you. As I gave the green plants, I have given you everything. However, you must not eat meat with its lifeblood in it. I will require a penalty for your lifeblood. I will require it from any animal of any human. If someone murders a fellow human, I will require the person's lifeblood. Whoever sheds human blood, by human hands will be shed, for God made humans in his image. But you be fruitful and multiply. Spread out over the earth and multiply on it. I want you to underline that, and I want you to underline be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Because I think when we get to another story, I think this is really important. So just mark that in your Bible. Then God said to Noah and his sons with him, understand, and then underline every time you hear the word covenant. From here on out, I'll finish. Understand that I'm establishing my covenant with you. You and your descendants after you, with every living creature that is with you, birds, livestock, all the wildlife of the earth that are with you, all the animals of the earth came out of the ark. I will establish my covenant with you that will never again will every creature be wiped off the floodwaters. There will never be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is a sign of the covenant I'm making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all nature, or for all future generations. I have placed my bow in the clouds. Now, what does that mean? Okay, rainbow, but what's God saying here? I'm placing my bow. Yeah, it's the sign that he's made the covenant, but there's something a little deeper here. I'm putting my bow in the clouds. Say again? I'm not at war with you anymore. I'm literally taking my bow and I'm setting it down. I went to war with humanity and mankind and the sin that ran rapid on the earth, but I'm taking my bow and I'm setting it down, and I'll never go to battle with you again. As long as there's heat and cold, winter and fall, there will be no more war between me and you. I'm setting my bow down. I love a good rainbow. I love to see the rainbow when the rain comes. But what picture that God is giving here is we're done going to battle. I'm setting my bow down in the sky. And it will be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I form clouds over the earth and the bow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all the living creatures. Water will never again become a flood to destroy every creature. The bow will be in the clouds, and I will look at it and remember the permanent covenant between God and the living creatures on earth. And God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and every creature on earth. I am done going to battle against you, humanity, and me. And then we're going to see next week how quickly sin came right back into the picture with Noah and his family.